went away for the summer a day early because of the Jeffrey Epstein situation. End EV tax credit underwater. Boost Medicare work requirements underwater. Increase border wall spending underwater. Increase detention center spending underwater.
I'm not buying that. Polls can be manipulated.
We have a few clips to look at from Mike Johnson going on CNN in a desperate attempt to defend the abysmal legislative record so far under the second Trump administration. So leave us a like on the video if you can. Helps us out a ton. It only takes a second and it gives us a big boost in the algorithm. So let's get right to the content.
You brought up polling when they asked people about specific provisions. Fox News, where I think you're headed later, they did ask about specific provisions. Absolutely right. No tax on tips. The majority approved, 70%. Defense spending, majority approved, 61%. Everything else they asked about, though, underwater, right? End EV tax credit underwater. Boost Medicare work requirements underwater. Increase border wall spending underwater. Increase detention center spending underwater. Solar and wind incentives, end them underwater. Reduce SNAP benefits underwater, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm not buying that. Polls can be manipulated.
Sad for MAGA, but amazing for us in terms of the midterm and further electoral success. I mean, they're sadly just not popular, right? Like, this is why Republicans are scared to hold town halls right now. I would love to know the explanation why, if not this, right? And the ones who do hold them are getting booed out of the building and called out directly for attacking these programs, because Americans really love their benefits and really trust and enjoy these government programs. You can see that through any polling you look at. So when you start messing with them, they get upset. They realize how a lot of these provisions, these social services, these safety nets, give them daily benefits that far outweigh an extra $12 a check that this tax cut will bring the average American household. The words tax cut doesn't make anyone's ears perk up that is not making a substantial amount of money. If you're poor, you're already not paying a lot of taxes, right? So like in terms of what you're going to get back isn't a lot. And I promise you a minor tax cut isn't going to change that situation, which is why it never has for anyone ever in any of the 4 times it's ever been tried. But I'm sure this one will be different.
You went away for the summer a day early because of the Jeffrey Epstein situation. You're going back here. While, again, Congress was gone, Ghislaine Maxwell talked to the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche. She's in prison for conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to sexually abuse minors. She told Todd Blanche, quote, "I never, ever saw any man doing something inappropriate with a woman of any age. I never saw inappropriate habits." How much weight do you put in the comments of Ghislaine Maxwell?
Not much at all. She has no credibility. She's been convicted for sex trafficking, okay? But we're for maximum transparency with the Epstein files. I've been saying this for years. We've been intellectually consistent from day one.
What about any of this has been intellectually consistent? I would love to know his idea of intellectual consistency in terms of how they've been handling Epstein. They pretended for years that Democrats were hiding them because they were in them due to the files actually being sealed by the DOJ. So that alone isn't intellectually honest, at least, if not intellectually consistent, only to then run on releasing them without hesitation, which hasn't happened. That's not very intellectually consistent. When they get into office, they do these massive promos and photo shoots with influencers and the binders. As Pam Bondi and Trump both say, just wait, these incriminate Democrats, we know because we have them, we're seeing them, they're on our desks, we're going to release them. And then, now they're saying, oh, well, they actually don't exist. What is intellectually consistent about that? Right as it's also coming out that Trump was told that he was actually in the files. What's intellectually consistent about any of that? None of them are even admitting that, it seems. And now they're pumping the brakes at all costs on it. Democrats have put forth at least 5 amendments, I'm sure there's been more that I'm not aware of, in Congress to force the release of the files. Republicans have all unanimously voted against them each time. Thomas Massie, I think, is the only Republican who doesn't. They do not want these released, and they're doing anything to prevent them from being released.
Texas voted to, and I'm going to use the word, gerrymander their district so they get 5 more Republican seats. California made moves that will maybe help them gerrymander so they get 5 more Democratic seats. More states are talking about it. Where do you think this should stop?
Well, I'm not involved in it. The Speaker of the House has no control over some national redistricting strategy. It's the resolve and the decision of the individual states. But I will say there's a big difference between what happened in Texas and California. Gavin Newsom's gambit, which is what it is going to disenfranchise millions of California voters because they all supported their redistricting commission, the Citizens Redistricting Commission. He has to traverse and trample upon or shred his state constitution to do this.
Well, they get to vote on it. They're going to vote on it.
They are, but the way he set that up
not
the way he's going about
disenfranchising if they can
Well,
vote on
it is.
Again, and this is how you know someone actually doesn't have a leg to stand on in an argument. They go from one talking point to the next without any concession or recognition of them being proved wrong on the last one, because they don't actually have like a ground or substance in what they're claiming. They just have talking point, and maybe, you know, like you get enough in and it seems like you win. California uses an independent districting commission, right? Just like Democrats in Wisconsin, Republicans in California suffer from geographical clustering. If you look at elections in Wisconsin, they're like 50-50 every year. Democrats have 2 seats out of, I think, the 8, right? It's 25%, but they get 50% of the vote. This isn't because of gerrymandering. If you look at like Princeton, these other institutions, Wisconsin isn't seen as a gerrymandered state. It's because of geographical clustering. In Wisconsin, it's because you have small cities next to large rural areas. In California, you have small rural areas next to big cities, of which in California, the map is redrawn every decade to best address this. It's just like when it comes to drawing maps, you can't just draw perfect little squares that perfectly encompass everything every time. This is why all institutions that study this find California's maps to be fair. It is a problem with first past the poll voting. This is not something Republicans want to do away with. Again, they just want to lose you in the weeds to hide the fact that they gerrymander. Newsom is putting in a provision that only gets triggered if and once Texas then redrew their map to allow the people of California to vote if they would like to then redraw their maps in response to only cancel out Texas, not to get any more seats or anything of it. It's just to cancel out the 5 seats Texas has. Texas isn't doing it democratically. They're acting first. And they're doing so mid-decade, which is unprecedented, right? I think like this has been done one other time, and that was also wrong, right? California is not only just responding to prevent this, but they're still only going to respond to prevent it if the people vote for it. This cannot be said in Texas. It's insane that these clowns can get on TV and pretend that Democrats are the culprits here of problems that they are so obviously on the worst side of the spectrum on, and still somehow get taken serious.